Welcome to the Level Up Life podcast. I'm your host, Scottie Hobbs, where we are here to remind you that your family is your most important work on earth, help you feel better, and learn how to make more income for your family. I'm here with my friend and business partner, Truman Hunt. Truman started his career as a lawyer and through a series of events, found himself running the company Nu Skin. He helped take that company from a few $100 million in annual revenue to $3.5 billion. When he found out about the launch of a new company with bioactive precision peptides, he wanted to be a part of building another billion-dollar company that makes an impact. They're on track to do $100 million in revenue in year one and build a billion-dollar company by year 5. He's one of the greatest men you'll ever meet. Truman, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the invitation, Scottie, to be on your podcast. It's an honor for me. And let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am currently serving as chairman of the board of directors of Make Wellness and the co-founder of the company with Justin Prince and team. And should I tell you a little bit about my background
I,
pre-Make?
I would love to hear what you've done throughout your life that's gotten you to this point.
Yeah. I guess I want to start by characterizing myself, I suppose, as pretty much a convert to direct selling, which is what we would describe as the distribution channel for Make Wellness products. I was a lawyer in private practice and doing primarily corporate and securities work, so we did a lot of representation of companies who are raising money in the private markets or in the venture markets, as well as in the public markets. And one of my clients was a company called Nu Skin Enterprises in Provo. And I had known the principals of Nu Skin for some time, um, and started to get to know their business. They'd always invite me to their big sales leader conventions, and which were often held in Salt Lake City. So I'd wander from my office and sit at the back of the room and look at this spectacle unfold and think to myself, "Oh my gosh, this is so different than what I do as a
Yeah.
lawyer." But I started to learn the direct selling channel, and they in the mid '90s they decided to take their company public, and that's what I had done as a lawyer. I was practicing as a securities lawyer, so I agreed to join them to take the company public, and which we accomplished in a very successful transaction. And in the course of that, they talked me into coming on board as in a general counsel capacity because they didn't have a lot of people on their staff who really had familiarity with what it meant to be a public company. So I joined them in a legal capacity, and in the following several years, started to move into business roles, and in that process, just became a real convert to the beauty of that business model and the power that it provides to take innovation to the marketplace in a very compelling fashion. Innovation that often requires explanation you just can't put it on a store shelf and hope that somebody walks by and picks it up,
Okay.
right? So I really loved the ability that our channel has to sit in front of a consumer and explain product benefits and differentiation and really delve into technology and important aspects of products. And so I just fell in love with the business. And in 2003, they asked me to be CEO of the company. So I agreed to do that and was the CEO for 14 years,
Wow.
retired in 2017, and pretty worn out by that time because, running a company that's publicly traded is a lot of work. And I had also been asked to oversee one of the missions for my church. So my wife and I went to do that for 3 years, and I stepped out of the business. But in that period of time, we grew Nu Skin from about 600 million when I joined to 3.2 billion when I
Wow.
left per year in revenue. And I think at our peak we had a $6 billion, $7 billion market cap, something like that. And so I just really, really fell in love with the model. And when we finished our mission service in 2020, came home not really knowing what to do, honestly, and and then I had the opportunity to meet an old acquaintance Justin Prince. We actually ran into each other at a funeral of a mutual friend who had passed away tragically. And Justin called me that week and said, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but Nathan, Nathan Ricks, whose funeral we attended, was a real mentor to me, and I need somebody to talk to. So, do you mind if I start talking to you on a regular basis?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So as I got to know Justin, and I obviously knew of him in the space. I mean, I knew that in the direct selling channel there were very few people who had been as wildly successful as he had been in the prior 5 to 10 years. And he had actually grown up in my neighborhood. So he was kind of a punk 13, 14-year-old kid, running around my neighborhood when my wife and I moved into the neighborhood. And so I knew him since that time and knew his family, obviously. And as I started to visit with him, he was telling me about his situation with his prior company, and it just wasn't a good situation. His company was owned by a private equity firm, and that just does not work in the direct selling world. Never in the history of direct selling have I seen a private equity firm buy a direct selling company and run it in an appropriate fashion. They tend to run it for them, right? They run it for profit
Yeah.
as opposed to running it for the benefit of the people who are actually driving the business. And that was unfortunately his case. And as things unfolded, they ended up, making the incredibly. In fact, I was on the phone with him. He was in New York City with his kids over fall break, and we were talking about things. And when he opened an email from his company and learned that they had actually made the incredibly stupid decision to terminate his distributorship for under just ridiculous premises.
Yeah.
And I just, honestly found myself on the phone with him saying, "My goodness, how in the world does a direct selling company terminate their top sales leader without a phone call?
Yeah.
Without even a conversation about, what was going on and what the direction of the business was." It was honestly the stupidest move I've ever seen in my entire business career. And I knew then that it was a matter of time until that company was in real trouble, because you just don't make a move like that without it having significant ramifications. And so I was happily retired, to tell you the truth, Scotty. I really I kind of I kind of was happy doing what I was doing, but I recognized a real opportunity to work with someone who I consider to be the best in the business right now, Justin Prince. I mean, he's just an amazing, amazing leader and an amazing guy. I learned a new word recently that I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know. The word is autodidactic, which is the word that's used to describe someone who is a self-taught person.
Okay.
So someone who maybe didn't go to college. So think of Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Elon Musk. People like this are autodidactic. They're self-taught. And Justin Prince is one of those. He didn't go to college, but I've never met anyone in my life who absorbs information like he does and who has the ability to repeat it and even to train on it. I mean, he's so deeply ingrained in himself everything that he's learning and reading that I'm just amazed at his ability to do that. So we spent a lot of time together and really worked hard to try to identify an innovative platform in the marketplace from a product perspective and from an opportunity perspective. For me, Scotty, um, I loved the Nu Skin platform, and I still do. I mean, I bled Nu Skin blue for a lot of years and really spent the best years of my life building that business. But on the other hand, I kind of felt a little bit hamstrung because there are some things that you just can't change about a business. And And the compensation system for a direct selling company is one of those things. I mean,
Mhm.
you don't mess with the comp plan. And because the whole economic engine is built on the compensation plan, which in my case had been ingrained in that business over the period of many years. And yet I never really felt like we were hitting the nail on the head in terms of threading this needle and enabling both a front end income opportunity for people who are just interested in reselling products and a back end income opportunity for people who are interested in building groups and really building perhaps a more significant check, a more significant income than you can generate just reselling products on your own. I felt like we didn't have that opportunity at New Skin. And so from an opportunity perspective, the opportunity to start a new business and do it right was something that was really, really interesting to me. The opportunity to do it with Justin, and now the opportunity to do it with you and with the thousands of other people who have already joined Make. And let me say that I'm shocked. I'm honestly like shocked at the quality of people Make Wellness has attracted in our first year. Like this is I feel like from a corporate perspective and from a field leader perspective, we almost have like the cream of the crop, the pick of the litter. Like we're getting the best of the best sales leaders in this space, including you, Scotty, who I just have just tons of admiration for. I mean, the number of people who have literally walked away from checks, from income to join Make is like it blows my mind. It's one thing to join when you're not leaving something behind, but another thing to join when you are leaving something behind. And that's what we're seeing. So I'm rambling here, Scotty, but
I love it.
this is what uh, this is what dragged me out of my comfortable retirement and back into the fray. The opportunity to help build something with people and on a platform that can truly make a difference in people's lives.
That's what we're here for.
That's what it's
That's
all about.
That's beautiful. Man, I've been thinking about the years that the experience you've had helping grow New Skin. I
Mhm.
didn't know the story of coming in mostly with law and then becoming the CEO. So thank you for sharing that with me. Understanding, I was thinking there's so many people in life, you never know where your path's going to take you. You could be on one path and then before you know it, you're doing something completely different. And then you could be retired and then you come out of retirement to help launch this new business with bioactive precision peptides. Now, I know you said you really admire Justin. He's the best in the business. So that was a reason to come join and work with him. What other reasons like compelled you to be like, I'm going to put my time and energy into this?
Yeah. Well, a couple things. Number one is that I one of the things that I came to love about this platform so much is the opportunity that we have to touch lives across a broad spectrum of people and broad geographies. We I mean, I think we all want our lives to stand for something more than just, you know, the size of our bank account.
Mhm.
We want our lives to actually make a difference in other people's lives. And that's what this platform does. I spent 5 years of my life, almost 10% of my life, as a full-time missionary for my church. And yet now on this platform, I have an opportunity to touch more lives than I even did there. And I love that, and I love the culture that's taking shape at Make Wellness and Justin's focus on truly making a difference in people's lives, leading a leadership revolution in the country, a leadership revolution that enables and encourages all of us to be better husbands and fathers or wives and mothers. Um, a leadership revolution in our communities where, I think we could all agree relatively quickly that our country is stressed.
Mhm.
The tone of public discourse is nasty. And we need bright shining lights who are kind of shining in a world that can sometimes be increasingly dark. And I love the opportunity we have to attract like-minded people in a way that enables us to really make a difference in other people's lives. And I honestly I just could not resist. I became a believer in the power of peptides. I spent, 25, 30 years of my life selling dietary supplements that were primarily, I would liken it to, I would liken the approach to kind of World War II style carpet bombing. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, dump a little more of this vitamin and that vitamin and this ingredient and that ingredient into a capsule. Surely it's got to be doing the body some good. Let's just carpet bomb as much nutrients as we can into the body and keep our fingers crossed. And it's a little more than that because there's real science involved in it too and clinical data and whatnot. But as I started to study peptides, I was kicking myself because, I've been so deeply ingrained in the dietary supplement space for so many years. And yet, even with 70 plus PhDs on my staff, we missed the power of peptides. And so the ability that we have to influence body chemistry now on a very focused basis. It's moving from World War II style carpet bombing to modern smart bomb technology. We can design a product to do a specific thing inside of body chemistry and know that it's going to work. And that would the entire platform would not be possible without the advent of AI. I mean, it's literally just in the last few years that AI got to the point where we can now dissect natural plant chemistry and find chains of peptides that are embedded in plants and extract those and embed them into molecules and put bodyguard peptides around them that enable them to get into the bloodstream, deliver their message, and get out of the bloodstream in a very effective fashion. I was watching a podcast recently that Sam Altman was on. He's the CEO of OpenAI that owns ChatGPT.
Okay.
I mean, he's only 40 years old, right? He's a young guy, but he was basically saying how he wished that he was still 25 years old because AI is opening up such a wealth of opportunity in the marketplace that he wishes he was younger and had enough time in his life to take advantage of everything that's going to revolutionize. So, for you, Scotty, and for those involved in the make world, I hope you know, and I hope you appreciate the fact that you are definitely pursuing an AI empowered business because without AI, finding peptides in nature is literally like trying to find a needle in a haystack. I mean, it is virtually impossible. And so I love the fact that we have a technological innovation that has enabled us to do things that we couldn't have done even 4 or 5 years ago. It's just um, it's just so much fun. I mean, it literally is like taking the whole category of dietary supplementation into the modern world and still, I mean, even though, the GLP-1 drugs are peptide based and people are kind of hearing the word peptide more and more, still, 99.9% of the population might have heard the word peptide but really have no idea what they do. And that's the beauty of this is our channel and the fact that we're mobilizing an army of passionate salespeople to go out and tell the world about this incredible technology is what makes this so much fun. I mean, it's what we did at Nu Skin with respect to antioxidants over a 40-year period of time. Nobody knew the word antioxidant 40 years ago, and now they do, and still probably people don't really know what antioxidants do, but that's the opportunity that we have with peptides. And I just think it opens an enormous opportunity for all of us.
That's beautiful. I'm here for that opportunity. One of the things I think it's absolutely beautiful, just thinking of I have 15 years experience in this space as well.
Mhm.
is we have the opportunity to create success and significance simultaneously throughout our life. Like I think so many people work so hard at their job to create success, whatever that might look like for them. It could be building their retirement account to whatever level, or getting the home that they want, or building to a certain amount of income. And then they get to that point and they're like, man, I haven't really been that significant in the lives of people around me. I've just been, checking the boxes at my job. And I think what we have here is beautiful, where you get to create that success for yourself, but also be significant in the lives of every person that you touch base with your products, with the opportunity. It's just absolutely beautiful. That's one of the
Mhm.
things I absolutely love about it. Now, I was thinking, I had a conversation today with my friend. You met him once at the Make event last year or earlier this year. His name's Vance Shirtliff. He's a doctor of physical therapy.
Mhm.
And he was talking about peptides, and he was like, man, he was having a little bit of trouble getting the message out to people about peptides. And he was just feeling like people just don't really understand what they are yet. And he's
Mhm.
teaching them and talking about them. So if someone were to like listen to this and they're like, okay, I've heard the word peptide. Like you said, 99% of the people know the word, but don't really know.
Mhm.
Why is it so important? I know you talked about the AI technology to be able to identify them, but
Yeah.
why peptides? Why is this the future? Why would one want to use them for themselves or be involved in bringing this to the world?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of the heart of our opportunity right there is the opportunity to tell the world about the power of peptides. And, so for me, Um, a couple of things. Again, I kind of go back to the whole argument of how, I mean, I think the data shows that 75% of American adults take a multivitamin on a daily basis. And, 99.9% of those people really have no clue what that product is doing for them,
Okay.
right? They toss down a multivitamin hoping that it's doing some good. And, and it probably is doing some good, but they're not exactly sure why. And most multivitamins are literally, the ingredient list on those are 20, 30 ingredients long. With peptides, we have the opportunity to identify a specific molecule and send it into the body biochemistry and say burn fat, build muscle, deep sleep, grow hair. I mean, whatever our target is, we have the ability to develop a peptide to do specifically that. Peptides are messenger molecules that when they hit the bloodstream, deliver that message to body chemistry, and then they literally just blow up and work their way out of the body's system. The one of the things that I love about this is that you think, okay, if I eat better, if I eat a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, then I can also get the benefit of those nutrients in my body, right?
Mhm.
Well, unfortunately, not, because those nutrients in our body chemistry are almost always broken down in the gut in a fashion that essentially blows that peptide up before it hits the bloodstream. So what we're doing is embedding these messenger peptides in molecules of bodyguard peptides to enable them to survive the gut, get into the body's bloodstream, deliver the message, and then get out. So that's our message, and it's a little bit of a complicated one. I admit. I think this is part of our challenge, Scotty, is figuring out a simple way to teach the power of peptides to people so that they become believers. And honestly, I don't think that we've hit that nail on the head. I think that the answer to that question, how do we do that most effectively and most simply, is more likely to come from you, honestly, who are out there doing this every day, than it is to come from corporate, or from marketing. Let me give you an example of this. At Nu Skin, we had a product in our product catalog for 10 years
Okay.
called the Galvanic Spa. It was a little device that came with gel, that you would put on your face, and it had um, similarly charged ingredients. So if the device is emitting a positive charge and the active ingredient is also charged positively, then it pushes the active ingredient into the skin farther and makes it more effective, right? Because similarly charged particles repel each other, right? A complicated story that, we were trying to tell for 10 years until one of our sales leaders in Europe coined the phrase the wrinkle iron. And he started to sell the galvanic spa as a wrinkle iron. Do this for the wrinkles on your face. And our sales exploded. We sold 1 billion galvanic spas.
Wow.
And I think that's one of our challenges here. We have a really sophisticated product platform, and we need to figure out how to tell the story in as simple a fashion as possible to give people the benefits of what we're offering here, which are really significant. I mean, help us figure this out, Scotty.
I'm
Help
here. I'm here to help with
us
it.
figure it out.
Yeah, when I first got on board, I read the science papers, the clinical trials, and ordered them for myself. And I was like, I believe this is going to work. And then I saw incredible results. Like, I just turned 44 this year, and like I had a bad shoulder injury. I was a youth leader who went on a high adventure, and I tried to out throw him, throwing rocks into the lake, and I tore my rotator cuff in like three
Mm,
places. I
mm,
spent thousands of dollars, like PRP injections, dry needling, physical therapy twice a week, and I got to where it didn't hurt for my arm to hang. Like I could function normally, but I couldn't hang from a pull-up bar anymore. Even after all that work, I couldn't do a incline chest press,
mm,
all of these things. I couldn't do a shoulder press. And within 2 months after, this is my personal story of using the Fit peptide.
mhm.
Um, I started to get strength back. I continued doing the physical therapy I've been doing for 4 years. It's been 4 years now. And I just started to get more range of motion and less inflammation in my shoulder to where I could do pull-ups now. Like I've been using the peptides for a year, but I can do pull-ups, I can do overhead presses. I had my record ever bench press like 2 months ago.
Wow,
And it's
that's
like
awesome.
so when I like my thing is like how do I tell the person I'm speaking to at the football game or online like this is the most incredible thing in the world, these natural peptides and how
Well,
good I feel with them.
so there you go. The thing that changed the galvanic spa for us was somebody basically selling the benefit, right? The wrinkle
Yep.
iron. And with fit, is it do pull-ups again? How long has it been since you did a pull-up? You
Well,
know,
since yeah, before that was like 4 years ever since before I had an injury and no
or
matter what I
or
did.
or with our new sleep product coming out this fall, dare to dream again. Actually have dreams. I mean, we need to figure out a way to sell the benefits without getting people too lost in the science because the science is sophisticated.
Yeah. Yeah, get that story that tells and it's simple to understand how will this help me feel
Hmm.
better.
Yep.
That's what I'm here for. Well, I've loved the conversation about peptides, but I want to get a little bit like I'm I admire what you've done with your life, what you did at New Skin. Just a story that the listeners of this podcast won't know. When I was making the decision of what to do next with my life, there were really three key people that I talked to, and I'm going to talk through it. I want you to know Truman, but I also want the listener to understand why am I here for the rest of my life building this company with natural peptides. I felt kind of hurt to be honest. When I lost my business, very similar to Justin, not as intense, and I felt lost. I'd been doing the same thing for 15 years. So I was like, what do I do now with my life? Because I thought that was something I would do forever. And I got on a phone call with Justin, and I was at 0%. I'm going to do this type of work. Like, I'm going to
Mm,
go use my skills and be a high performance coach with Brendan Bouchard or something like that because I've been his student for like 15 years. And I had this conversation with Justin. He got me to like 70%. Okay,
mm,
I'll consider doing this. This seems like it could be a great path. And then obviously I went on a walk with my wife, And we got a piece of paper. We wrote all the pros. Here's the pros if I were to do this. Here's the cons. There were literally no cons. So that was interesting for me just to write that out. Lots of pros. Went over to my dad's. I got a father's blessing from my dad. And after the blessing, my dad, he's like, son, he's like, you need to do this work. Like, I saw how it changed your life. You got your mom and I exercising and healthy over the past 10 years.
Hmm.
And he's like, I just love seeing how it brought you to life. He's like, you need to do it. And I was like, okay, I want to do this. And then I got on a Zoom the next day with Justin and some other leaders from our former company. And Justin's like, you got to meet Truman Hunt. He's like, you need to meet Truman Hunt. He'd said everything that you talked about. He took New Skin from here to 3.5 billion. He's the most incredible guy. He's coming out of retirement. He believes in this mission so much. And he's like, unfortunately, he can't be here today on the Zoom because he's marrying some people in the church. I think is how he worded it on that call. And later, I found out you're doing some temple ceilings. You were doing your calling, and I was like, man, these are the people I want to be with. The leader of the company is putting his faith or family, whichever one. In that case, it was the faith before this opportunity to recruit some of the best over to this opportunity. And I was like, that's the type of business I want to be with. I want to be with people who put their family, their God, their faith before the business. And that was the final one for me, Truman. Like I'm going to do this. I want to work with these people. These are people I want to be mentored by. And so I appreciate that from you, um, being faithful to your calling and that being more important than the business in that aspect. I know how important the business is to you, but that was a big thing for me. Now I have a question. Someone might be out here thinking like maybe they have skills in this type of field already, and they're like, I don't know if I can do this again, or I don't know if I want to do this. What would you tell that person that's kind of stuck, or like, I don't know if
Yeah.
this is for me?
Well, I mean, that's a deeply personal question, isn't it? And I mean, I suppose that everyone's situation is a little bit different and unique to them. I mean, one of the things that's really struck me recently, Scotty, is I mean, I've been a little bit of a student of leadership, I suppose, over the last 30 years, kind of because I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I was necessarily right, for corporate leadership positions. I was kind of happy being a lawyer and not having to worry about things like results,
Yeah.
like the business leaders have to be responsible for. And I and so I've studied leadership, including studying a lot of field leaders. And I became convinced over the years that one of the things that distinguishes those who really succeed in a dramatic way from those who maybe have perhaps less dramatic or more average-ish type of results is not necessarily like it's not in my view usually a result of some big dramatic difference in people. It's not like someone's doing something that's just all that so dramatically different. Or some people might think, well, I'm not comfortable, being on stage talking to people like Justin Prince does, or I don't have 600,000 Instagram followers. I can't do what those people do. Or, I'm never going to be as polished as somebody else might be, or seem to be as comfortable in front of others as somebody might be. I think the thing that distinguishes those who win big from those who might be more average in results is a result of stacking, what I would call stacking small things. It's doing the small things on a consistent basis that yield a dramatic difference in results. It's like I was reading a study recently. The Campbell's Soup did a little marketing study where they they noticed a difference in the amount of soup that they would sell in some stores versus other stores. And when they would run specials, when they would do like coupons or discounts, and so like let's say they were running a special 79 cents a can of soup or whatever. The average customer would purchase 3.3 cans of soup when the soup was on sale. And yet they found in a few environments that when the store manager or the store personnel would put a sign out that would say, by the cans of soup, that would say, limit 12 cans per person. Same price, different message at the point of sale. Limit 12 cans per person. The average customer would purchase 7 cans of soup
Wow.
instead of 3.3. And, to me, that was just an example of a small thing, that ends up making a big difference. And I see that in people in this business. I called one of our sales leaders one of the new skin sales leaders a few years ago because she just started to knock the cover off the ball. Her monthly commissions went north of $100,000 a month. And I called her up and I said, okay, Becca, what are you doing? Like what? Because she lives in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, recently married, one small baby, and she's killing it in the business. I'm going, okay, what do you do? And she goes, Truman, I don't do anything. I don't do anything different than anybody else does. I just show up and I say, no, no, you got to be doing something different. Like, not everyone's check is north of $100,000 a month. And I said, walk me through your day. Walk me through your day. What do you do? She goes, well, okay, look, okay, fine. So I get up early because I find that if I don't get my exercise in first thing, the baby gets up, my husband gets up, the next thing you know, it's 9 o'clock at night. I'm too tired to do it. So yeah, so I get up early and I get my exercise in. I'm thinking, okay, most people probably don't do that, Becca. Okay, what do you do next? How do you go about your workday? Well, I've just found over the years, she said that if I don't schedule my day, Um, I found, and she worded it like this. She said, my part-time job can easily become a spare time job. And I've just found that I don't have a lot of spare time. So if I want to make sure that I get my hours in every day, doing what I need to do from a business standpoint, I have to schedule my days. And so I tell my husband, Cody, will you be sure to be available to watch the baby for these 2 hours or these 3 hours? And I schedule my day out so that I make sure that my effort really is a regular, consistent part-time effort. I'm going, okay, Becca, I don't think most people do that. I think most people probably do treat this as a spare time thing,
Yeah.
and nobody has spare time. So there's another little thing you do different. Okay, what? And then I said, Becca, I said, there's something else you do that I've seen on your Instagram posts. I said, I see you have a calendar of something and you're like coloring in days on your calendar. She goes, oh yeah, that's just a stupid little thing that I do. I go, well, what do you do? She goes, well, I have my month calendar. I have a 3-month calendar in front of me, and I always put the date of the cutoff of the next success trip qualifications because I want to know when the deadline is. And then if I'm on track and I've had a good day, I color the day green. If I'm off track, then I color the day red. If I'm just kind of in between, then I color the day yellow. I'm going, okay, Becca, I don't think that most people keep their goals in front of them like that and literally hold themselves accountable on a daily basis
Grade themselves.
for how they did that day.
Yeah.
Like, Becca, and so I mean, my point, Scottie, is this. I don't think it's the big things. I think it's stacking the small things that make a difference in this business. And that's what I want to encourage people to do is start stacking the small things because those small things. And does that resonate with you, Scottie? Does that sound like, I mean, you're good at this. You've
Yeah.
done this for a lot of years.
I'm like, preach it. Yes, say it. You know, Yeah, I calendar out my day. I know exactly the top five things that I'm going to do every day and focus on in this business. And I'll just go through them real quick with you. Like every day, I show up as a role model on social media. I teach what I'm learning in life or learning through my own personal growth. Or today was I'm reading the Old Testament, so I taught the story and how it applies to life or business.
Huh.
I just try to show up as a role model on social media. Number two, I network. I make new friends and start conversations with no hidden agendas. I just want to meet people, know who they're from, if they have kids, what their hobbies are. And then I invite at least 3 to 5 people every single day to, hey, I basically just say, hey, I'm really excited about this. I don't know if it's for you or not, but we're bringing natural peptides to the world. Let me know if you want to watch a video about it. Hey, and if by the way, if they're not, and I send a voice text. I don't copy and paste scripts. I'm like, hey, if it's not for you, maybe you know someone that's excited about that type of thing that you could connect me with. So I'll send invites. That's number three. Number four, I follow up with people that say yes. Send them podcasts, send them whatever it is that they have questions about. I send them, I follow up with them. And then number five is support the people that purchase from me, either join as affiliates or customers. It's just those five things. Now, here's the thing I find, I built a team previously that was doing 7 million a month in sales at the
Hmm.
highest point. And people ask me, even last week, I had one of my affiliates like, what are you doing? What do I need to do? And I told them those steps specifically.
Mhm.
And they're like, it can't be that easy. I almost every time have someone tell me it can't be that simple.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it is that simple, but
Yep.
I've been doing it for 15 years straight,
Hmm.
every day except Sunday. I'm hunting with my dad. Like, I can't wait to do it. I'm like, Dad, can you drive? And I sit in the passenger seat with my laptop and my phone on the hotspot, and I'm talking with my dad, and I'm doing the same thing. Hey, nice to meet you. I saw you commented on my reel. I like to connect with the people that are sharing my content. Like, where are you from? Like, just the smallest things just
Yeah.
compounded every day. It is
Scotty,
really that simple.
that's it. I mean, no matter how smart you are, no matter what your other level of success is in any other area of your life, if you're willing to stack these small things on a consistent basis, you can win. And if you're not, then it's just not for you, right? It's
Yeah.
just you have to be willing to stack these small things. I really appreciate you sharing that because I've that's what I've found too, and you're a living proof of that.
Yeah, you and I were having this conversation where I was telling you I'm not where I want to be yet.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm a little hard on myself sometimes, but I think putting pressure on myself is how I've gotten to where I've gotten in my life. And holding myself accountable to that, like saying, hey, you said you were going to be here. You're not here. You're not there yet. That's okay. But what do we need to shift or adjust to get there? And so as I work through those things and holding myself accountable like that, I'm able to take the right steps forward. But as I shared that with you, where I'm not where I need to be, I know I'll be where I want to be because no matter what the result shows today, and this is for the listener to listen to, I know I'll get there because I'm doing the right steps every day. Those steps that I mentioned, just
Yep.
stacking those wins, like you said.
Yep.
And so you got to have faith. That's kind of the story that I told this morning. I was listening on the Gospel Library app in Genesis about the whole story of Joseph getting sold. Like everything looked like it wasn't going in his favor his whole life.
Yep.
And then he ended up making a whole difference for a whole nation and his family just because
That's for sure.
he was patient with the time. So it was a beautiful reminder for me today. Now I want to ask you one last question.
Mhm.
Well, maybe two, but this question, we've talked about all the good stuff, like good things that can happen, the awesomeness of peptides, this business model, how incredible it is, the leadership. It's all great stuff. But there's got to be some hardships that you've gone through in your life or difficulties. What's a lesson you've learned in your life through a hardship? Like something difficult in your life that's taught you one of the most important lessons.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, this is kind of a deeply personal thing, but my family is not too far distant from a pretty traumatic event in our lives last year, last summer, where we had a 3-year-old grandson go into heart failure while his family was vacationing in Oahu last summer. And, you know, my son called early one morning, and we quickly jumped on a plane and got over there um, in time to see him, in the hospital. And he was one sick little boy. And yeah, he was on his way out for sure a couple of times, and the doctors managed to reel him back in. And finally, we got him stabilized enough to be able to life flight him back to the mainland and here to Primary Children's Hospital in Salt Lake City. And when they took him off the vent, he was on a ventilator for 10 days, I think. And when they took him off the vent and he opened his eyes, it was pretty clear that he just wasn't there. He was not cognitively functioning the way that we hoped he would coming off the vent, which was a really scary thing, to think, oh my gosh, what have we done? We've saved a kid's life, but he's never going to be the same. And in our community, people were really rallying around us and around him, and 4 or 5 days later, he opened his eyes one morning and looked at his mom and said, "Hi, mommy," and he was just back, and it was for us, it was truly a miracle, and an opportunity that we had to really kind of strengthen our faith in higher powers and in the power of prayer and whatnot. But it's also an opportunity to just kind of push a reset button on the things that matter most in life. And there are things that matter more than others, and our relationships with our families, with our spouses and with our children, and if we believe in God, our relationship with God matter more than anything. And so, that was a pretty traumatic event in our lives, and not a day goes by that we don't thank the Lord for saving this little kid's life, because he's truly a blessing to us and a living proof to us that God answers prayers, and that miracles still happen, even today. So yeah, sorry to be so
Man, you
personal
made me
about it.
teary-eyed. That's beautiful. A reset in your life that really resonated with me. It made me think about something. I've never shared this on my podcast. I'm gonna share with you real quick, but we had a moment in our life. So my mission in life is to remind people that their families are most important work on earth,
Mm,
help people feel better, and help families earn more income for their family.
mm,
And so make a decision to come to Make Wellness, checked all those boxes. I was like, I can still do all those things and I can do them really well here. And
mm.
so that decision was easy for me because I could continue on my mission, even though it was a different platform, different products, different compensation model, different people, different leaders. Well,
Only faith.
let's wrap this up. I got to let you go. Where do you see this thing called Make Wellness and peptides going over the next 5 years?
The success that we're having this year is pretty much like crazy. I mean, how many companies in any industry do over $100 million a year in their first year of business? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in direct selling. It doesn't happen anywhere. And our goal is to be $1 billion a year business in our fifth year. And I think we have everything in motion to enable that to happen. I think we're going to be several times bigger than that even. But to get there in a 5 year period of time, actually, that's our corporate mission statement. I had a conversation with Chat GPT the other day, just doing a little gut check to see whether that's even possible. Like identify all the companies that are US based that went from 100 million to $1 billion in a 5 year period of time. And of course, ChatGPT is limited to public data and not private company data. But ChatGPT could only identify two companies that had done that. One was not comparable because it was a spin-off of a large public company. So they were already doing hundreds of millions of dollars in year one by the time they did $1 billion in year five. The other one that they identified was DreamWorks. the film company, Katzenberg and Geffen and those guys who had a big hit in their year one and then went on to have a series of big hits. And I kind of found that interesting because, that's what we're doing here is we're enabling people to reach their dreams. And I think it's going to happen. And Scotty, my hope, and you're a living example of this. I think one of our biggest challenges is as that happens, a lot of people are going to make a lot of money and um, and face all of the challenges that come with prosperity.
Mhm.
And prosperity can be a blessing, and it can also be a challenge. And we just need to make sure that we enable it to be a blessing. I think, God only blesses people with prosperity for one reason, and that's to enable them to help other people. I don't think he blesses people with prosperity so that they can live happily ever after. I think he blesses people with posterity with prosperity so that they can be a blessing to others. And hopefully in our environment and in the make environment, we'll find that's what motivates people here because it's what motivates me.
Motivates me as well. And I'm here for that mission to help remind people of that as they grow their income and their impact.
Yeah. Well,
Truman, man, it's been a blessing being able to have this conversation with you today, and I'm so grateful that you took the time.
thanks so much, Scotty. You're the man.
You're the
Have
man, and I'm
an
excited to see
awful
you at
lot
our
an
next
awful
event.
lot of admiration and love for you and your family.
Well, I appreciate that, Truman. Thank you so much.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you for joining us on this episode. We hope that you enjoyed the conversation that we shared with you today. We're here to remind you that your family is your most important work on earth, help you feel better, and learn how to earn more income for your family. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a positive review, clip what you like, or share it with a friend. My friend, it's time to level up.